Welcome to Cosmic Bedtime. For centuries, we've told stories of Atlantis, a lost city, a forgotten world. But what if it was never just a myth? Join us as we journey into the ocean's deepest shadows, where history blurs into mystery. And where something may still be watching. This is Atlantis Reimagined. There is a place on Earth where the sky disappears. Where light fades not with dusk, but with depth. Where pressure builds in silence, and time seems to stop. Beneath the waves, beyond the sunlit surface, lies a world untouched by human feet, unseen by human eyes, and perhaps misunderstood by the human mind. We call it the deep sea. But names do little justice. For this is not just an unexplored part of our planet, it is a mystery cloaked in water and pressure, darkness and dreams. Every great mystery has a voice. And the ocean's voice is not loud, it is low, humming, ever present, like a whisper in the back of your consciousness. Some call it the call of adventure. Others, the fear of the unknown. But for those who pause, who listen, it is something deeper. A call not just to explore, but to remember. We look to the stars and dream of other worlds. But maybe, just maybe, the greatest alien landscape is the one we've been floating above all along. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about Earth's ocean floor. Let that sink in. Despite all our satellites, submarines, and science, nearly 80% of our oceans remain unmapped, unobserved, unexplored. It's not just deep, it's alien. Temperatures near freezing. Pressure enough to crush steel. Complete darkness. And yet, it's teeming with life. Not just any life. Life that glows in the dark, feeds on chemicals, and thrives in conditions no textbook would ever call habitable. What else, then, could be hiding there? Could there be more than just life? Could there be civilization? Or memory? Or echoes of something that once was, and perhaps still is? Throughout human history, the ocean has always been more than just water. It is symbol. It is myth. It is fear and fascination. Cultures across time and space, from the Greeks to the Polynesians, the Sumerians to the Mayans, have all told stories of kingdoms lost beneath the sea. Perhaps the most famous of these stories is Atlantis. Plato first described Atlantis around 360 BC, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias. He spoke of a powerful civilization, rich in wisdom and technology, that sank into the ocean in a single day and night of misfortune. Historians have long debated whether it was allegory or memory. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the reason Atlantis never leaves our minds is because it's more than a story. Maybe it's an archetype. A whisper from our collective unconscious. A memory older than history. A longing we don't quite understand. When we look up at the night sky, we project our hopes and fears into the stars. We imagine alien civilizations, galactic federations, and messages written in light. But what if we've been looking the wrong way? What if the cosmos isn't up? What if it's down? The deep sea, like space, is vast and hostile and unknown. But unlike the stars, it's here. Close. Immediate. And eerily silent. Astronauts speak of the overview effect, a change in perception when seeing Earth from orbit. But oceanographers, too, speak of something similar. A kind of awe that grips the soul when descending into the abyss. The deeper they go, the more reality loosens. The more they feel watched. Not in fear, but in reverence. It's almost spiritual. As if the ocean is not a place, but a presence. In 1997, scientists from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration recorded a strange sound in the South Pacific Ocean. It was loud, louder than any known sea creature, and its source was never identified. The sound was nicknamed the bloop. It lasted for less than a minute. It came from deep underwater. And it has never happened again. Was it an earthquake? A blue whale? A shifting iceberg? Maybe. But others wondered, what if it wasn't geological or biological, but technological? It's not the only mystery. Hydrophones, underwater microphones, have picked up dozens of strange, unexplained sounds. Some rhythmic. Some musical. Some like whispers or footsteps. Sometimes, the sea is quiet. Sometimes, it speaks. And sometimes, it sings. Whales use sound to communicate across entire oceans. Squid flash pulses of light to send silent messages. Coral polyps emit chemical signals to shape entire ecosystems. Communication in the sea is not limited to voice. It is vibration, rhythm, bioluminescence. If there were an intelligence beneath the waves, not human, not terrestrial, how would we know? Would we even recognize its language? Its movement? Its song? Could Atlantis have been real, but not in the way we expected? Could it be that we imagined marble columns and temples, but what was lost beneath the sea was something older, something quieter, something we can't yet comprehend? Not a city. Not a kingdom. But a presence. A being. A mind. A memory. There is a kind of silence only found underwater. The deeper you go, the more the noise of the surface fades. The more you feel, unanchored from time. Diver accounts speak of an odd sensation when descending past a certain depth, where even the rhythm of your own thoughts begins to change. Some describe it as peaceful. Others, as unsettling. Many agree, it feels like someone, or something, is watching. Not with malice, but with memory. The ocean remembers. It remembers the crash of comets, the hum of tectonic plates, the footfalls of creatures long extinct. And maybe, just maybe, it remembers us. All life began in the ocean. We are not visitors to this world, we are descendants of it. Our blood carries its salt. Our cells echo its rhythms. Our dreams are full of its symbols. Perhaps the ocean calls to us because it is home. Not just biologically, but spiritually. Emotionally. Cosmically. Before we looked to the stars, we looked to the waves. Before we imagined aliens, we imagined sea gods. Before Atlantis became legend, perhaps it was something else, a truth, half forgotten. Maybe, to understand who we are and where we come from, we must not look up, but dive down. So, as you lay here tonight, listening to the world fall quiet, let your thoughts drift beyond the shore. Imagine the ocean not as a mass of water, but as a dream. A dream we all once shared. A dream we're still trying to remember. And listen, just for a moment, to the deep. Not with your ears, but with your heart. Can you hear it? That low, distant hum? That's the call of the deep. It has waited a long time for you to return. Close your eyes and picture a city. Not just any city, but one of harmony and elegance. Vast temples built of gleaming orichalcum. Bridges that stretched between crystal towers. Gardens with trees that shimmered like stars. Waterways that sang with the tide. And at its heart, a civilization said to be wiser, more advanced, more spiritually attuned than any before or since. This is Atlantis. Or, at least, the version we've carried through the centuries. Part dream. Part allegory. Part something else. Tonight, we sink gently into its story, not to prove or disprove, but to wonder. Not to find it on a map, but in a memory. Because the question is no longer just, was Atlantis real? It is, what part of us remembers it? The tale begins, as far as we know, with a philosopher. Plato. Athens. Around 360 BC. In two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato describes a mighty civilization that existed beyond the Pillars of Heracles, or what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. Atlantis, he said, was a vast island, larger than Libya and Asia combined, and its people were blessed with great power, knowledge, and virtue. But over time, their wisdom gave way to greed. Their balance with nature collapsed. And so, in a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis sank into the sea, lost forever. Was Plato telling a historical account? A warning? A metaphor? He never finished Critias. The text cuts off mid-sentence, as if the story vanished with the city itself. Perhaps intentionally. Perhaps fittingly. What's remarkable is not that Plato wrote about Atlantis, but that the world never forgot it. For over 2,000 years, the story has resurfaced again and again, like a ghost ship rising through the mist. Explorers have searched for it in the Atlantic, the Mediterranean, Antarctica, even beneath the ice of the poles. Writers have reimagined it as a utopia, a technological marvel, a spiritual center, or an alien outpost. Even today, entire YouTube channels, Reddit threads, and scholarly journals are devoted to unraveling the riddle. But why? Why does a tale with no physical proof still capture the imagination of millions? Because Atlantis is not just a city. It is an idea. It is the collective dream of what could have been, and what might still be. Atlantis is not alone. The Mahabharata speaks of Dwarka, an ancient Indian city swallowed by the sea. In Welsh legend, there is Cantor Gwaelod, a sunken land of music and joy. In Japan, the tale of Ryugujo tells of an underwater palace visited by fishermen. And in the Andes, the legend of Lake Titicaca speaks of a golden city beneath the waters. Cultures across the globe, separated by oceans and millennia, all carry stories of civilizations lost to the sea. Is it coincidence? A shared metaphor for impermanence? Or, is there a deeper memory we all carry, passed down not through written word, but through dreams, intuition, and art? What if the stories are echoes, soft and distorted, of something real? Geologists now confirm that massive floods and sea level rises did occur at the end of the last ice age, around 11,000 to 12,000 years ago. Entire coastlines disappeared. Islands became seabeds. Vast areas once populated by humans were submerged forever. Could Atlantis have been one of them? We tend to think of history as a straight line, Stone Age to Bronze, to Iron, to Industrial. But the Earth is not so orderly. Civilizations rise and fall, often leaving behind little trace. Just ask the Amazon jungle, which until recently was thought to be untouched wilderness, until aerial LiDAR scans revealed entire lost cities beneath the canopy. If the rainforest can hide cities, what might the ocean hide? Some scientists believe in something called genetic memory, the idea that certain knowledge or trauma can be passed down through generations. It's still a fringe theory, but intriguing. Could the story of Atlantis be a kind of cultural memory encoded in our myths and stories? Not a literal retelling, but a symbolic one. A warning, passed through poetry. It might explain why the story persists. Why it resonates. Why it feels familiar even on first hearing. Like a dream you're sure you've had before. Like a name on the tip of your tongue. Like a home you've never seen, but miss anyway. Part of what makes Atlantis so captivating is that it wasn't a city destroyed by outsiders. It collapsed from within. According to Plato, its people grew arrogant. They began to crave more than harmony, more than wisdom. They lost their reverence for nature, for balance, for spirit. And in that forgetting, they sealed their fate. It's a tale that feels eerily modern. In every retelling, Atlantis becomes a mirror. A mirror of humanity at the edge of greatness, or destruction. A mirror of our longing for perfection, and our tendency to let it slip away. Perhaps we keep searching for Atlantis not to find it, but to avoid becoming it. But what if the story is true? Not just metaphorically, but materially. What if there was a civilization, perhaps not as advanced as Plato imagined, but advanced nonetheless, that thrived along now submerged coastlines, before being lost to a planetary shift? What if their knowledge wasn't lost, but remembered in fragments? In oral stories, in ancient maps, in symbols passed from temple to temple. What if Atlantis wasn't the exception, but the norm, and we are the ones living in the ruins of a world we barely remember? And what if, deep below the waves, some part of it still remains? In 2001, marine archaeologists found what appeared to be sunken structures off the coast of India, massive, symmetrical, and ancient. Carbon dating suggests human activity in the area over 9,000 years ago. In the Mediterranean, sonar has revealed strange anomalies, stone formations, steps, walls, where there shouldn't be any. Near Cuba, deep-sea researchers recorded geometric shapes on the seafloor, too deep for traditional ruins. None of these are confirmed as Atlantis. But all of them remind us, we have barely begun to scratch the surface, or the depths, of Earth's hidden history. And myths, it turns out, often point us toward mystery. So where does that leave us? Is Atlantis real? Was it ever real? Or is it a truth disguised as fiction? Maybe the point is not whether Atlantis existed, but that it exists in us. In our dreams of a better world. in our fears of repeating mistakes, in our longing for connection, to each other, to the planet, to something ancient and wise. Atlantis is not just a city beneath the sea. It is a memory waiting to be reawakened. A voice from the deep saying, remember who you are. Remember what you've lost. And choose what to build next. Tonight, as the ocean sings its endless lullaby, we drift among the ruins of forgotten worlds, not to mourn them, but to listen. To let the silence speak. To let the myth become memory. And to prepare our hearts for what lies deeper still. Because the sea holds secrets. But more than that, it holds stories. And sometimes, those stories remember us, too. We often think of the ocean as a place we go to escape. We stand on its shores, let waves tickle our feet, and speak of freedom. We float, swim, dive a little, and then return to land. But the ocean is not a place we visit. It is a realm we barely know. A domain so vast, so deep, so profoundly alien, that calling it earthly seems almost misleading. Tonight, we let go of the shore. We sink, slowly, not in fear, but in reverence. Down, down, into the true ocean. The one that lives not just in maps, but in mystery. More than 70% of Earth's surface is covered by ocean. But over 80% of that ocean has never been mapped, observed, or even touched by human technology. That's nearly a third of the planet that remains unknown to us, not because it is far away, but because it is beneath us. To explore the ocean is not to go outward, but inward. To go down, not up. And the deeper we go, the more we realize, this isn't just another part of Earth. It's a different world. At 200 meters, sunlight begins to fade. At 1,000 meters, darkness becomes absolute. At 6,000 meters, the pressure is over 600 times greater than at sea level. And at the deepest known point, the Mariana Trench, nearly 11 kilometers below the surface, the environment is so extreme, it's as if we've left the planet entirely. And yet, life exists. Not just life. Thriving, bizarre, mesmerizing ecosystems, flashing, crawling, pulsing with color, light, and sound. Life, in its most alien forms, lives right beneath our feet. Imagine a creature that lives in complete darkness, and glows. Imagine another that survives in boiling hot, toxic water near hydrothermal vents. Or one that floats motionless for years, waiting for a vibration, then strikes in a fraction of a second with unerring precision. There are fish with transparent heads. Octopuses that mimic other creatures. Crabs with hair-like bacteria on their claws that act as natural filters. Even jellyfish that seem to reverse aging. These are not science fiction. These are facts. These creatures are real, and we've only seen a tiny fraction of them. Biologists estimate that we may have discovered less than 10% of all ocean species. That means there could be millions of unknown life forms, living in silence, undisturbed, unseen. What else could be down there? What else is waiting, patiently, in the dark? When we imagine aliens, we look to the stars. But maybe, we don't need to go that far. The conditions of the deep ocean, extreme pressure, low temperatures, total darkness, are more similar to the environments we expect on Europa, Enceladus, or even exoplanets than anything on land. If life can thrive here, it can thrive there. But the opposite is also true. If intelligent life from another world were to visit Earth, they might not choose to hover in our skies. They might choose the oceans. Why? Because it's the largest hidden environment on the planet. Because it shields from radiation, detection, and human interference. Because, in many ways, it is the perfect place to remain unseen. Perhaps we're not alone in the cosmos. Perhaps we're not even alone on Earth. In a strange way, the ocean is like the universe itself. Both are vast beyond comprehension. Both are mostly dark. Both are full of pressure, silence, movement, and mystery. Both contain life we barely understand. Both are more complex than we can model, more dynamic than we can predict. And in both, the deeper we look, the more we realize how little we know. The physicist Richard Feynman once said, "I think nature's imagination is so much greater than man's, she's never going to let us relax." Nowhere is that more true than in the ocean. One of the most breathtaking discoveries in ocean science came not from tracking whales or mapping reefs, but from venturing to the ocean's darkest regions. In the 1970s, scientists exploring deep-sea volcanic vents made a shocking discovery: entire ecosystems powered not by sunlight, but by chemicals. Giant tube worms. Clams the size of dinner plates. Crabs with no eyes. All living in complete darkness, feeding off the chemical-rich emissions from the Earth itself. It was as if we had found a city of light in the dark, an ecosystem where life had rewritten the rules. And if life can rewrite the rules here, who's to say it hasn't done so elsewhere? Who's to say Atlantis, if it ever was, had to look like our cities at all? Our technology struggles in the deep. Most submarines can't reach past 1,000 meters. The intense pressure crushes steel, shorts electronics, disables sonar. Even modern underwater drones face massive technical challenges. In contrast, deep-sea creatures navigate this world with elegance. They use bioluminescence for communication and camouflage. They detect the slightest movement from miles away. Some even generate electricity. What if a civilization evolved in or adapted to these environments? Would we even recognize their tools as technology? What if their language is movement? Their buildings, alive? Their signals, embedded in the flow of currents? What if we're listening for voices, but the conversation is being carried in silence, through light, scent, or gravity? There is a common phrase in marine science. We don't know what we don't know. It's a humbling truth. We have mapped Mars more thoroughly than the Earth's seafloor. We have better models of distant galaxies than of our own underwater trenches. Even now, there are unexplored ridges, entire basins unseen by any eye, human or machine. Every time we send a new probe or sonar scan, we find something unexpected. A new species. A new structure. A new sound. Sometimes, we find things we cannot explain at all. And that's okay. Because mystery is not the enemy of knowledge. It is the engine of wonder. Sometimes, the ocean speaks to us, not in words, but in patterns. Migrating whales that follow invisible maps. currents that seem to carry emotion, storms that feel more like cleansing rituals than weather. Sailors throughout history have described the sea as a presence, not a place. And when you're alone on the open ocean, under a sky full of stars, surrounded by black water and wind, it's easy to believe the sea is listening, or thinking, or remembering. It's not science, but it is experience. And experience often knows before science catches up. The ocean humbles us, not just in size, but in insight. For every answer we find, we discover 10 more questions. For every creature we classify, another slips past our sensors. For every sonar ping that maps the bottom, something swims just out of reach. It's a reminder that we are not lords of this world. We are participants in it. Guests, even. And perhaps, somewhere in those depths, someone, or something, is watching us in return. Curious. Cautious. Waiting. Not to harm. Not to rule. But to see if we remember what it means to live in balance. As we rise back toward the surface, the silence grows louder. The mystery doesn't fade, it follows us. It whispers into our dreams, into our stories, into our myths of cities lost beneath the sea. We don't need to go to other stars to find the unknown. We only need to look down, to imagine that the alien might be right here. Not hiding, but living in a place we were never meant to see fully. And maybe, that's the point. Maybe the ocean keeps its secrets not to frustrate us, but to teach us. To remind us that not everything must be conquered. Some things must simply be respected. Tonight, as your breath slows and the world fades to quiet, let yourself drift. Imagine the ocean, not as a barrier, but as a doorway. Not as an abyss, but as a sky turned inward. And somewhere, far below, a city glows in silence. Not lost. Just waiting. Beneath the ever-moving skin of the sea, where sunlight wanes and silence deepens, lie formations that seem to whisper of another time. Some are carved and sharp, others geometric and unnaturally precise, too deliberate to be shaped by chance, too isolated to be easily explained. Around the world, scattered like forgotten pages of a story never finished, are structures submerged beneath the ocean's surface that challenge our understanding of both history and possibility. We often think of ancient ruins as grounded, pyramids rising from sand, temples hidden in jungles, stone cities perched atop mountains. But what if some of the oldest, most enigmatic structures humanity has ever encountered do not lie on land, but beneath the sea? And what if their existence hints at something beyond human memory, a prehistory rewritten not by time, but by the tides? Let us descend, slowly and thoughtfully, into these underwater mysteries. Off the southern coast of Japan, near the island of Yonaguni, lies what may be the most controversial underwater structure in the world. Discovered in 1986 by a diver searching for hammerhead sharks, the so-called Yonaguni Monument is a massive rock formation composed of flat platforms, right angles, sharp steps, and what appear to be symmetrical walls and pillars. The entire site covers over 300 feet in length, with some sections descending more than 90 feet below the surface. Geologists and archaeologists have debated the origin of the structure for decades. Is it a natural formation, created by tectonic forces and erosion? Or is it a long-submerged remnant of an ancient, unknown civilization that predates written history? Some even speculate that the site dates back to the last ice age, around 10,000 years ago, when sea levels were much lower and Yonaguni may have been part of a larger landmass. The deeper you look, the more mysterious it becomes. Some divers have reported inscriptions on the stones, strange carvings of animals and humanoid figures, and even a large stone resembling a ceremonial throne. And while skeptics point to natural geological processes to explain the structure's symmetry, the questions linger: why here? Why this shape? And why does it echo our architecture so precisely? If Yonaguni is man-made, it could represent one of the oldest known monumental constructions on Earth, predating the pyramids by millennia. If it's natural, it remains one of the most haunting geological coincidences in human experience. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of Yonaguni is not its structure, but its silence. It does not answer, it only invites. In the early 2000s, off the western coast of Cuba, marine engineers using sonar mapping for oil exploration stumbled upon something extraordinary: symmetrical stone structures lying nearly 2,000 feet beneath the surface of the Caribbean Sea. The formations, as described by the researchers, appeared to be large blocks arranged in patterns, pyramidal shapes, road-like grids, and terraces that suggested a deliberate design. At such a depth, these structures, if man-made, would have been submerged over 10,000 years ago, long before any known civilization could have built them. No ancient culture in the region is believed to have had the means to construct such a city, especially not on such a scale. The Cuban government allowed limited exploration of the site, and video footage captured by submersible vehicles revealed vast stone slabs, some arranged like city plazas. However, funding and access have remained restricted, and the world has seen little follow-up investigation. The questions remain unanswered, and the mystery has quietly receded from public view, a ghostly metropolis resting in darkness, waiting. Was this a natural seabed formation misinterpreted through the lens of human pattern-seeking? Or was it the submerged heart of a civilization lost to the oceans, a civilization that remembered itself only in myth? In the warm shallows off the coast of Bimini Island in the Bahamas, lies another enigmatic underwater feature, a long, narrow formation of rectangular limestone blocks stretching nearly a kilometer. Discovered in 1968, the so-called Bimini Road has been a magnet for speculation ever since. To the untrained eye, the Bimini stones look like a purposefully laid roadway or seawall. The blocks are uniform in size and shape, aligned as if forming the foundation of a long-lost harbor or structure. Supporters of the Atlantis theory, including famed psychic Edgar Cayce, who predicted in the 1930s that remnants of Atlantis would be found near Bimini, point to the road as a surviving fragment of that mythical land. Skeptics, as always, suggest a simpler answer: the limestone blocks fractured naturally, eroded by tides and wave action over centuries. But there is something undeniably evocative about the scene, something that stirs the imagination and refuses to settle into a simple scientific explanation. What is a road doing beneath the sea? Beyond these famous sites, there are whispers of many others. In the Gulf of Cambay, off the western coast of India, sonar scans revealed vast geometric patterns that may represent ancient city ruins submerged under murky waters. In the Mediterranean, remnants of ancient ports, temples, and amphorae lie in silence beneath waves, not myths, but realities, documented by archaeologists, and dating back thousands of years. And as sea levels rise today, we are reminded that the ocean is not just a mystery, it is also a memory. Cities have always drowned. Shores have always shifted. But perhaps some drownings were not slow, not natural, but sudden, deliberate, or even cosmic in nature. What links all of these underwater enigmas is not just their location beneath the waves, but their lack of context. On land, when we find ruins, we usually find stories. We find pottery, tools, human remains, the echo of daily life. Underwater, these elements are rare or absent. We find the stones, but not the people. The structures, but not their purpose. The stage, but not the script. And in that void, mystery grows. It becomes a canvas upon which we paint lost civilizations, extraterrestrial visitors, Atlantean architects. Perhaps that's the magic of these ruins, they are fragments of an unknown whole, and in trying to complete the picture, we glimpse parts of ourselves. The ocean has no bias. It hides treasure and trash alike. It erases borders, silences language, and levels history into sediment. But it also preserves, protects, remembers. The structures beneath the waves may be nothing. Or they may be everything. They may be the shadows of civilizations that rose when the world was young, and fell when the world was still learning to remember. Civilizations that watched the stars and carved their knowledge into stone, stone that now sleeps in darkness, far below the storms. What else sleeps there, still unseen? What songs, what sorrows, what wisdom have we yet to find, not in the sky, but in the sea? Let us go deeper. There is something haunting about silence, especially the kind that blankets the ocean floor. Down there, past the reach of sunlight and the grasp of time, no wind stirs, no wave crashes, no voice echoes. The world is hushed. Suspended. Yet, in that stillness, something stirs, a vibration, a murmur, a strange sound that seems not of this earth. And once again, the deep speaks. We have spent centuries gazing at the stars, listening for alien signals from the cosmos. But what if the most mysterious signals aren't coming from above, but from below? In 1997, something remarkable was recorded by NOAA, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Somewhere in the vast Pacific, their underwater microphones picked up a low-frequency sound unlike anything they had heard before. It was deep, powerful, and loud enough to be detected over 5,000 kilometers away. They called it the bloop. It sounded organic, like a creature. But it was massive, impossibly massive. Larger than any whale, louder than any submarine. And yet, no creature of that size has ever been found. Then came Julia, another strange moan from the deep. And upsweep, a mysterious sequence of sound patterns that recurs every year during the change of seasons. Each of these signals was unlike the others, yet all shared something in common: they defied explanation. We tried to label them. Ice shifting, some said. Underwater volcanoes, others proposed. But none of those explanations truly fit. The frequencies were wrong. The patterns were odd. The sources, still unknown. And so they remain, echoes from the abyss, unsolved and unclaimed. If part 4 of our story showed us the solid shapes of mystery, temples, roads, pyramids sleeping under the waves, then here, we find something less visible, but no less profound: sound. Sound travels faster and farther underwater than in air. The sea is an amplifier, a giant ear pressed against the belly of the earth. When we listen to the ocean, we're not just hearing whales or seismic activity, we're tuning into a kind of planetary heartbeat. But sometimes, that heartbeat changes rhythm. There are audio recordings, many of them public, where the ocean does not hum or breathe gently, but sings in strange tones, sometimes rhythmic, sometimes shrieking, sometimes like a whisper from something immense and unknown. These are not ghosts or myths. They are real. They are recorded. And they are unanswered. It's one thing to hear a strange noise once. But when anomalies recur, when multiple systems in different oceans capture the same phenomena over decades, we begin to wonder, what are we actually hearing? Some have speculated that these sounds are communications, not from whales, but from intelligences far more elusive. Could it be that something beneath the sea speaks in frequencies we barely understand? We've always imagined alien civilizations as existing out there, among the stars. But perhaps, if they're advanced, they would hide where we least expect, not in orbit, but under our oceans. Perhaps the bloops and moans are not glitches of geology, but attempts, subtle, careful attempts, to communicate, or warn, or simply be. One of the most unsettling aspects of these sounds is their lack of pattern, or rather, the kind of pattern we can recognize. In the language of nature, most things are rhythmic. A heartbeat, a wave, a seismic tremor, there's a logic to it. But these deep-sea sounds are erratic. They change pitch without reason. They stop suddenly. Some loop. Others stretch for hours, then vanish for years. Are we dealing with a language that doesn't follow our syntax? Or are we listening to technology beyond our comprehension? Some researchers have suggested that the bloops could originate from deep thermal vents or undersea mountains. But none of those explanations account for the consistency of their recurrence, nor the locations, often far from tectonic fault lines. Carl Jung once wrote that what we do not understand, we fear, and what we fear, we often bury. The ocean has long been the burial ground of humanity's unknowns. We dump our doubts there. Our legends. Our monsters. But what if the abyss is not a grave, but a library? What if, instead of being the resting place of lost civilizations, it is the current home of something older, wiser, or simply different? Some have even proposed that the signals are the result of interaction between natural forces and unnatural presences. That perhaps the ancient structures we explored in the last part still resonate with energy. Maybe sound is how they still operate. Maybe the voices from the deep are not new, but very, very old. In recent years, oceanic sonography has become more advanced. We can now filter sounds, triangulate sources, map patterns in real time. And yet, the more we listen, the more questions arise. The ocean is not quiet. It is filled with voices. Some we recognize, currents, crustaceans, creatures. Others defy taxonomy. There is no reason to assume that an alien message would come as a radio wave beamed across space. It might just as easily come as a vibration from beneath the ocean's crust, subtle, submerged, encoded in ways we are only beginning to understand. After all, sound is one of the oldest forms of communication in the universe. Maybe the sounds are natural. Maybe they are not. But either way, they remind us that our planet is alive, and not just on the surface. The ocean is not silent. The ocean remembers. And every strange sound, every unexplained echo, every whisper in the dark reminds us, there are stories we haven't heard. Beings we haven't met. Truths we haven't imagined. And perhaps, just perhaps, something is still calling us. Something ancient. Something patient. Something, listening back. The ocean hides many things. Structures long buried beneath silt and coral, sounds that defy explanation, ecosystems that thrive in eternal darkness. These mysteries are enough to stir wonder in any heart. But among all the questions that echo through the deep, one rises above the rest, haunting in its simplicity. If an alien civilization were to visit Earth, why would they choose to hide beneath the ocean rather than reveal themselves above it? It may seem counterintuitive at first. Why not descend with glory, landing in open fields or hovering over city skylines like the scenes painted by science fiction? Why not make contact, extend a hand, tentacled or otherwise, and speak to us openly? But perhaps such an assumption reveals more about us than it does about them. Earth's oceans cover over 70% of its surface, yet we have explored less than 5% of their total volume. In fact, we know more about the surface of the Moon, and even Mars, than we do about our own deep-sea trenches. From a purely strategic standpoint, the deep ocean offers the perfect hiding place. Unlike the skies or land, the ocean's depths are shielded from the probing eyes of satellites and telescopes. Sound travels oddly here, bouncing and distorting in ways that make detection difficult. Light does not reach past a few hundred meters. Radar is ineffective. Even our most advanced submarines can disappear with ease into the vast, black silence. So if a civilization possessed the technology to reach Earth, or had long been here, what better refuge than the one place we rarely look? The abyss, it turns out, is the ideal place for watchers. Let's imagine for a moment that you are an explorer from another world. You found a planet teeming with life, complex, evolving, unpredictable. Intelligent, but immature. Capable of greatness, but also violence. Would you announce your presence? Or would you observe first, quietly? By hiding beneath the ocean, a civilization could study our species undetected. Monitor our communication, our wars, our dreams. Learn our languages, our patterns, our mistakes. All without ever needing to set foot on land. Just as we once watched animals in the wild to understand them before domestication, perhaps we, too, are being observed. And perhaps the observers are simply waiting. Waiting to see if we destroy ourselves or rise beyond our fears. Waiting for us to prove we're ready. There is another possibility, simpler, sadder. Perhaps alien visitors don't hide in the ocean to study us. Perhaps they hide from us. Our world is beautiful, but it is also violent. We pollute, we war, we divide. We shoot at what we don't understand. We capture, dissect, and destroy in the name of curiosity. If a visitor landed in the open, what would we do? Welcome them, or fear them? Embrace, or attack? The ocean offers safety. It offers silence. And it offers a kind of dignity, a way to exist beside us without confrontation. To be here, but not with us. Science fiction has long imagined underwater civilizations, not just alien, but human. Domed cities beneath the sea. Glass tunnels lit with bioluminescent glow. Societies that reject the chaos of the surface and instead choose the calm of the deep. Could aliens have made the same choice? Perhaps Earth's oceans are not merely hiding places but homes. Homes of stone and crystal, powered by geothermal energy and shielded by pressure we can barely withstand. Places carved into undersea ridges or floating gently above hydrothermal vents. These hypothetical cities would never appear on sonar. Their entrances could be cloaked, their energy sources unfamiliar to our detection methods. Their inhabitants could live in silence, not out of fear, but choice. They may have chosen the sea because it offers what the land does not, peace. And then, there is one more possibility. What if the ocean isn't just a hiding place, or even a destination? What if it's a door? Some theories suggest that the physics of the deep sea, its pressure, its temperature gradients, its magnetic properties, might offer conditions suitable for dimensional travel. Wormholes, time distortions, or gateways between realities may sound fantastical, but they're not entirely dismissed by modern theoretical physics. Could it be that beneath the crushing weight of the Mariana Trench, there lies a bridge to somewhere else? A place not on Earth, but reachable from Earth? Perhaps our visitors aren't hiding. They're just passing through. We are a species that looks up for answers, to the stars, the comets, the galaxies beyond. But perhaps we've been facing the wrong way all along. Perhaps the answers lie beneath. In the next part, we'll explore stories that challenge our perceptions even further, strange sightings at sea, unidentified objects not falling from the sky, but rising from the depths. If there are watchers in the deep, perhaps they've been trying to speak. And maybe, we just haven't been listening. The sea has always held secrets. But some of these secrets rise from the water, or descend into it. For centuries, sailors, submariners, and coastal communities have whispered stories, not of ships and storms, but of objects. Unexplainable, silent, impossibly fast. Not flying through the air, but moving through water as if the laws of physics were suggestions, not rules. These aren't just UFOs. These are USOs, unidentified submerged objects. And they may be the key to a puzzle far older than our satellites and radars. They may be the threads that connect ancient ruins beneath the sea, strange sounds from the deep, and the myth of Atlantis itself. Modern technology has granted us the power to peer into the sky and see with equal awe. And yet, in the ocean's vast expanse, objects have been recorded doing things no human machine can replicate. Moving at incredible speeds underwater without any sonic boom or visible propulsion. Changing directions instantly, defying the inertia that constrains everything we build. Disappearing into the darkness below, as if vanishing into another world. These phenomena aren't just recent. The earliest credible USO reports date back centuries, before airplanes, before submarines, before we even had a word for technology. One such tale comes from 1492. On his voyage across the Atlantic, Christopher Columbus reportedly observed a strange light beneath the sea, gliding alongside his ship, rising, then vanishing into the water again. His journal describes it as a small wax candle that rose and lifted up before dipping back beneath the waves. Centuries later, in the 1960s and 70s, Soviet and American submarine crews, rivals in a Cold War, both began reporting similar events. Objects that moved faster than any known torpedo, with no heat signature, no noise, no trail. They watched, stunned and helpless, as these objects darted and dove, sometimes observing them in return. Was it military technology? If so, whose? The mystery of USOs gained greater attention in the 2000s, especially with declassified naval footage and public testimony from military personnel. In 2019, a leaked video from the USS Omaha surfaced, showing a spherical object hovering above the water, then plunging into the ocean with no visible splash, and vanishing. The radar operator reported no trace of it after it submerged. No debris. No turbulence. Just a smooth disappearance into the deep. Luis Elizondo, former director of the U.S. Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ADIP, described such objects as exhibiting transmedium capabilities, the ability to operate in air, water, and even space seamlessly. And then there's the U.S. Navy's 2004 Nimitz incident, where pilots encountered a tic-tac-shaped object off the coast of California, moving from 80,000 feet to sea level in seconds, hovering briefly above the water, then diving in. The water churned briefly, and then was still. What are these objects? Are they machines? Are they probes? Or something else entirely, beings or phenomena beyond our categories? The patterns they follow aren't random. Many of them are sighted near deep-sea trenches, underwater mountains, and areas of tectonic activity. Places where human presence is rare and surveillance is minimal. These are the same kinds of locations where ancient structures like Yonaguni and Bimini Road lie submerged. The same depths from which mysterious sounds like the bloop and upsweep emerge. Coincidence, or connection? Is it possible that the ocean is not just where these entities hide, but where they live? And if so, how long have they been here? USOs unsettle us in a unique way. UFOs, for all their mystery, belong to the skies, a realm we look up to, dream about, reach for with rockets and telescopes. But the sea? It's too close. Too quiet. Too unknown. When something rises from the deep, or vanishes into it, we feel it in a different part of ourselves. A deeper part. As if some ancient instinct in our bones whispers, "You are not alone down here." And perhaps, you never were. There's a strange comfort in the idea that the universe is watching us from above, distant stars, benevolent civilizations, cosmic siblings. But the thought that something has always been beneath us, silently observing, perhaps even guiding or influencing, is harder to accept. What if Atlantis wasn't just a myth, but a distorted memory of contact? What if the great flood myths of the world were not punishments from gods, but resets, cosmic tidal shifts in a story that repeats itself in silence? What if these close encounters below sea level are not new, but ancient? What if we are reawakening to something we once knew, and forgot? The ocean is vast, mysterious, and largely unexplored. But more than that, it is reflective. Not only in the way light dances off its surface, but in the way it mirrors something deeper in us, our dreams, our fears, our longing for origins and lost perfection. Atlantis, whether real or imagined, speaks to something buried not just under the sea, but inside our minds. Why does the story of Atlantis persist? We've all heard it, a powerful, utopian civilization lost in a single cataclysm, swallowed by the sea, gone without a trace. Plato's tale, written over 2,000 years ago, was not just a historical curiosity. It resonated across cultures and continents, from children's books to spiritual philosophies. The myth of Atlantis has become a global symbol. But a symbol of what? Perhaps Atlantis is not just about a place, it is about a time. A time when humanity was wiser, more balanced, more in harmony with nature and spirit. When we dream of Atlantis, we dream of a golden age we feel we've lost. And this loss is personal. The deeper question, then, is not whether Atlantis was real, but why we need it to be. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, spoke of the collective unconscious, a realm beneath our conscious thoughts, where archetypes live, universal images and ideas that shape cultures and dreams. The ocean, in many ways, mirrors that realm. Vast, dark, unknown. And Atlantis? It may be one of those archetypes. Beneath our rational minds lies an ocean of memory, not factual memory, but emotional memory. A longing for origins. Atlantis is not remembered, it is felt. We feel it in the silence of ancient ruins, in the melancholy of waves crashing against cliffs, in the wonder of night skies mirrored on the sea. It is not a map we follow. It's a rhythm, a frequency, a whisper that says, "You once belonged to something greater." Could it be that we carry Atlantis in our bones? Interestingly, people across time have dreamed of cities beneath the sea. From Japanese legends of Ryugujo, the dragon palace under the ocean, to Irish tales of Tir Fo Thuin, the land under the waves, human cultures seem to echo one another in whispering of submerged lands filled with wisdom, beauty, and magic. Even modern dreams, in sleep or in trance, often lead people to underwater temples, glowing corridors beneath coral reefs, or meetings with beings made of light and fluidity. These aren't always interpreted literally, but they strike a chord, deep and archetypal. It's as if water itself holds memory, not just of Earth, but of us. Perhaps, in diving deep into the sea, we're diving into ourselves. Atlantis as longing for harmony. Consider the modern world, noisy, fast, disconnected. We live with technological wonders, but often feel spiritually starved. There's a subtle ache for something else, something lost. Atlantis represents that ache. A place where technology and spirit were not enemies. Where knowledge served wisdom, not power. Where architecture echoed the sacred, and society thrived in balance with the earth and sea. We don't just miss Atlantis. We hunger for it. Maybe that's why we continue to create it, in fiction, in art, in meditation. It's not just nostalgia, it's aspiration. We're not just looking back. We're yearning forward. There is a reason why people go to the sea when they need to think, to mourn, to find peace. There is something about the endless horizon and the rhythmic tide that soothes the human soul. It reflects us. Calm or stormy, still or wild, the sea teaches us something about the nature of being. About surrender. About depth. And perhaps Atlantis, whether it lies in ruins beneath the waves or in dreams behind our eyelids, is a reflection too. A mirror of what we once were. Or what we might still become. Skeptics often say, Atlantis never existed. There is no evidence. No artifacts, no coordinates, no confirmed historical trail. But that's missing the point. Atlantis doesn't need to be scientifically proven to be psychologically real. Myth is not the opposite of truth, it's another kind of truth. One that doesn't care about data points, but cares deeply about meaning. And meaning is what gives us direction. Atlantis is meaningful not because it was a city with streets and columns, but because it is an idea. An idea that keeps calling to us, through waves, through stories, through inner silence. A voice in the deep saying, remember. We are curious creatures. But we are also spiritual ones. We long to know, but also to wonder. And in that tension, between knowledge and mystery, Atlantis lives. The sea, more than space, is a place of immediate mystery. We can't see into its depths. We can't walk it freely. It swallows light. It swallows time. And in doing so, it invites our imagination to swim. Perhaps that's why Atlantis survives, while so many other ancient legends have faded. Because it touches something we can't quite name, but recognize. A mystery that feels familiar. A home we've never seen, but never forgotten. So, what if Atlantis was never meant to be found out there? What if it was always meant to be remembered in here, in the oceanic space of the human mind? A sacred echo of who we might be if we lived with more grace, more humility, more awe. We are storytellers. But we are also story livers. And Atlantis is one of those stories we don't just tell. We become. In our questions. In our creativity. In our dreams of what civilization could be. Not a lost continent. But a possible future. One that begins, always, in the deep. There is a certain arrogance in the way we talk about Earth. We map its continents, fly over its mountains, and sail across its oceans. Yet when we speak of the sea, we often do so as though it were a conquered realm, despite the fact that more than 80% of the ocean remains unmapped, unexplored, and unseen by human eyes. Beneath the crushing pressure of the abyss, in waters untouched by sunlight, life flourishes in forms that stretch our understanding of biology and evolution. The creatures that dwell here seem alien not just in appearance, but in principle. Translucent bodies, bioluminescent signals, life forms that thrive in boiling heat or under toxic chemical clouds, they are living reminders that Earth still harbors mysteries as profound as any found in space. While we've sent rovers to Mars and probes to the edge of our solar system, we've only briefly visited the deepest parts of our own ocean. The Mariana Trench, the deepest known point in Earth's oceans, is a place so hostile that pressure there is over 1,000 times that at sea level. And yet, life persists. Some of the organisms discovered in these depths defy categorization. There are bacteria that eat metal, fish that produce their own light, and shrimp that can survive near hydrothermal vents spewing water at 400 degrees Celsius. In these realms, sunlight is meaningless. Photosynthesis is replaced by chemosynthesis, where organisms draw energy from chemicals seeping from the Earth's crust. The deeper we go, the stranger it gets. And yet, we've barely scratched the surface. In some of these deep-sea organisms, scientists have found genetic structures unlike anything seen in other Earth life forms. While still part of the tree of life, their unique biochemistry has led to questions: could similar forms of life exist elsewhere in the universe? Or, more provocatively, could life on Earth have more than one origin? Some fringe theories suggest that the ocean's depths may harbor forms of life that did not evolve here, or at least not in the way we understand. These ideas border on science fiction, and yet, they serve as a useful lens to examine how little we truly know about our own biosphere. There's also a growing field of study around extremophiles, organisms that thrive in conditions once thought impossible for life. These include high radiation environments, sub-zero temperatures, and acidic or saline lakes. The implication is staggering: life doesn't need our conditions to exist. It adapts. It persists. It surprises us. Among the most mesmerizing discoveries of the deep are bioluminescent creatures. From jellyfish that pulse like ghostly lanterns to anglerfish with glowing lures, these beings use light in darkness like a secret language. Some scientists speculate that such signaling could even be a form of complex communication we've yet to understand. Could there be deep-sea intelligence, hiding in plain sight, but existing in a mode so different from ours that we fail to recognize it? If an intelligent species had evolved, or arrived, in the ocean's depths, it might not look or behave in any way we'd expect. It might use light, movement, or electromagnetic fields to convey meaning. It might have no interest in contacting us. Or it might simply consider us irrelevant, creatures confined to land, unable to perceive their watery domain. The more we look beneath the waves, the more our assumptions begin to unravel. Life on Earth is far more diverse, complex, and strange than we were ever taught. The idea that we've discovered all there is to know seems laughable in light of what remains uncharted. In fact, according to marine biologists, we discover an average of 1,700 new marine species every year. And that's just from the shallow and accessible parts of the sea. Who knows what swims in the darkest trenches, where no light ever penetrates, and no sub has ever gone? Could it be that the answers we seek, about life, about intelligence, about origin, are not in the stars, but in the water? When we peer into the ocean, we are not just looking for creatures. We are looking for the boundaries of possibility. Every new discovery forces us to redraw the lines of what life can be. And maybe that's the point. In the abyss, we're not just exploring biology. We're confronting our own limitations, our assumptions, and our blind spots. The sea, like space, is not empty. It is full of lessons we haven't yet learned. So perhaps the most alien thing about the ocean is that we still treat it as if it were ours, when it may well belong to someone, or something, else. We often speak of the cosmos when we talk about the search for life beyond Earth. We point our telescopes at distant stars, we build spacecraft to chase shadows across planets millions of miles away. And yet, the most alien realm we know might be right here, under our feet, or more accurately, under the waves. The ocean is a mirror. It reflects what we fear and what we dream. We fill it with myth because it refuses to give us certainty. We project gods, monsters, and lost cities onto its darkness because we cannot stand its silence. But what if the mirror is showing us something more profound? Maybe the reason we imagine Atlantis isn't because it once existed on Earth's surface, but because something within the ocean, something very real and very strange, continues to resonate with our collective subconscious. Not Atlantis, the island that sank, but Atlantis, the idea that we are not the only intelligence that calls this planet home. We often think of aliens as distant beings from faraway galaxies, technologically advanced civilizations orbiting stars we can't pronounce. But what if alien simply means unfamiliar? Other? What if intelligence doesn't need cities or rockets or radio signals? What if it doesn't even want to be found? In our oceans, life has evolved under pressures we can barely imagine, literally. Creatures thrive in boiling vents, beneath crushing darkness, with no need for light or air. We marvel at their strangeness, and yet, they are part of the same earth as we are. Could something more exist? Not animal. Not plant. Not even life as we know it. Something else? And what if this something has been here all along? We tend to associate intelligence with noise, language, signals, tools, movement. But perhaps that is our own bias. Dolphins, whales, octopuses, all highly intelligent in ways that challenge our definitions, exist in the ocean. They use sound, color, and subtle gesture. Their logic is not ours, but it is no less complex. Now imagine a form of intelligence that communicates with magnetic fields, with vibrations in the seafloor, with currents of heat and salinity. A being whose thoughts are slow, deep, and geological. A being that sees time in centuries, not seconds. How would we recognize it? Would we call it alien? Or would we call it home? Across human cultures, the sea has always been a place of reverence and fear. From Japanese Ryugujo to Polynesian underwater realms, to ancient Greek tales of Poseidon and Atlantis, our stories speak not just of lost places, but of hidden knowledge. Of beings who came from below, not to conquer, but to teach. To warn. Or perhaps to witness. Maybe the myth of Atlantis is not a memory of a lost continent, but a longing. A call from the deep that we've heard in dreams and echoed in stories. Maybe it's not the sea that is hiding from us. Maybe it's us, who are not ready to see. From sonar blips to deep-sea anomalies, from structures no science can fully explain to creatures that defy classification, our instruments have whispered things to us. But we rarely listen. We want proof, not possibility. We want photos, not poetry. Yet the universe may not always speak our language. What if we're the guests on this planet? What if we've always been? What if, long before we walked upright, something else lived in harmony with the planet, chose not to conquer, chose not to surface, and simply waited? Observed? Dreamed? The search for Atlantis, and for aliens, may not be about exploration at all. It may be about reflection. The ocean forces us to confront our smallness, our assumptions, and our need for certainty. It reminds us that the unknown is not out there in the stars, but inside our own world, and perhaps inside ourselves. Maybe the reason the idea of Atlantis endures is because deep down, we know it holds a truth we're not ready for, a truth not about a sunken city, but about what it means to be human on a planet still full of mystery. In the end, perhaps Atlantis was never lost. Perhaps it was never even a place. Perhaps it's a metaphor, for the knowledge we've forgotten, for the wisdom we've drowned, for the connection to our world we've traded for concrete and light. Perhaps Atlantis is a state of mind. A reminder that Earth is still filled with wonder. That the ocean is not just water, but memory. That we are not alone, not in the cosmos, and not even here. So close your eyes. Breathe with the rhythm of the tide. And remember, in the darkness below, not everything is silent. Not everything is lifeless. Not everything is gone. Atlantis lives, if not in stone, then in soul. And maybe, just maybe, someone down there is dreaming of us too. Thank you for drifting with us beneath the waves tonight. If this story brought you peace or wonder, like, subscribe, and share the journey. Until next time, sleep well, dream deep.